Jack Smith enjoys the most fake coverage, in this case from The Hill, by a Bush appointee telling lies about you and covering up and helping Jack Smith. But these are old school Republican Bush appointee rhinos who are just telling lies about you, Trump supporters, and lies about Jack Smith defending him. These guys are sellouts. These guys are frauds. These guys are things of the past. And remember, what they accuse Trump of, they're always more guilty of doing. I'll prove it to you in this article right here on Jack Smith. Welcome to Doug in Exile. I'm Doug Tenaple. This is where the happy patriots are as we grind it in the Beltway's face. They're on suicide watch right now that their girl, Nikki Haley, lost. Beltway Republicans, you're going down. Bye-bye. How Jack Smith's prudence aids Donald Trump's polls while we agree Jack Smith is only helping Donald Trump. Much has been written about the correlation between former President Donald Trump's popularity and his criminal cases, and how his poll numbers have spiked upwards each time he's been indicted. True, this seems counterintuitive, but there may be a good reasons for his curious phenomenon. For those of us who knew even before Trump's mugshot came out, we knew this would help Trump. This is only a surprise to the snobs in the Beltway up on the Hill. These guys were rooting for Mr. Howell on Gilligan's Island. Love me.
Detective, just a trace of Harvard.
Reading well, Tab.
Love me. Mitt Romney's gonna win, Lovey. We have to take out Trump. His mean tweets are worse than a three-front war, Lovey. Special Prosecutor Jack Smith is, of course, working under the auspices of the United States Department of Justice. Notably, the Justice Manual that the department has promulgated and to which Smith must adhere severely constrains what federal prosecutors can say about pending cases. Of course, you're wrong because those rules only deal with the past. We all know what Jack Smith does, and you should be on the in enough to know what he does also. He tries to stop Trump from doing his mean tweets, and then Jack Smith leaks to all of the Democrat press who carry his water. The manual directs prosecutors to refrain from commenting on an accused's character, his or her public statements, and the probability that accused is guilty of a charged crime. In essence, prosecutors must largely stand mute and let their cases speak for themselves. Bullcrud. They all know, first of all, that the media is 98% Democrat, so they have the luxury of being quiet. Jack Smith loves following these rules. It looks like he's a rule follower. Democrats don't have to make a statement to look good to the world, to the upper echelons of all their cocktail parties, all of their inner sanctums of the university, all of their tenure meetings. They're cheering Jack Smith. He doesn't have to say anything in public. He gets the support. That's how this works. You dumb, naive, fool, Bush appointee. Regardless of the Justice Manual's dictates, Jack Smith is a career prosecutor who was illegally appointed. He didn't even qualify. That's according to Ed Meese. Read your own amicus brief, who is the very model of rectitude, more like rectal tube. This mirrors the demeanor of Attorney General Merrick Garland. No, it doesn't. His demeanor is a slimy, duplicitous, lying raccoon. Flop sweat. I could smell him from a mile away. That this guy believes Merrick Garland's doughy-eyed, fake demeanor. A former federal judge. This article is written by a former judge, by the way, fraud, who has been criticized for his deliberate and highly ethical demeanor. Don't you realize there's a battle for America? And you're coming out and you're carrying the water of Jack Smith, who's actually trying to interrupt an election, who's actually trying to destroy Trump solely because he's the leading opponent of Joe Biden. And you probably support Joe Biden, don't you, mother scratcher? Neither of these individuals tends to paint outside the lines. In their world, indictments speak for themselves. Fair play and adherence to the rules are mandatory and not optional concepts. You're so full of garbage. The actual indictments themselves have been shown to be purely political, to be once in a lifetimes where they go out and they try and call down the 14th Amendment to get his name off a ballot for the first time since the war, saying that he's an insurrectionist. You're full of garbage, Judge. I'm a barely literate comic book artist. I draw cartoons and I know more about history and the law than you, fraud. Go back and suck at the teat of the Democrat Marxist Party. You're all washed up. You lost your saltiness. You're no good to be used to season the meat. All you can do is be thrown out as refuse for Gehenna. In contrast, Trump, while somewhat constrained by gag orders issued by presiding judges, has an almost unfettered ability to say practically anything about the merits of the cases against him. Accordingly, he has created out of whole cloth the narrative that he's being politically persecuted. Go read outside of your Beltway little think tank. You're the blind zombie.
A wholesale arrest of the Supreme Court.
You're the brainwasher who cannot see outside of his own blinders. Your Trump derangement says because Smith cannot and will not try his cases in public. And the press does just fine. And Merrick Garland, who has covered up for the Russia lie, used David Weiss to cover up for the Hunter Biden laptop lie that he colluded with the media against Twitter. You are so ignorant. Because Smith cannot and will not try his cases in public, as I said before, he doesn't have to. He has all of media and frauds like you over at the Hill to do it for him. And moreover, since most voters will never take the time to read the indictments against Trump and contain enormously consequential allegations and criminal charges, see, this is where you need to read more books, son. I read all of them. I read all of the counts against him. I read this stuff all day, 8 hours a day. So you're claiming I'm only supporting Trump because I haven't read the documents. I think you're only against Trump because you're under marching orders of Karl Marx, you fraud. Some of us actually do understand that there's such a thing as a political hit against a man. Get your head out. Where have you been for the last 20 years? You're part of the problem. You're so blind. Don't you realize you're still fighting for last year's Justice Department? You think the rules still apply? You think you'll have a constitution after the Democrats pack the Supreme Court with 15 judges, expand the Senate? They call the Constitution a living, breathing document. That's who you're providing cover for. You're Neville Chamberlain thinking there'll be peace in our time. The false narrative has a great deal of power. Psychology says it is the illusory truth effect. Ooh, big words. Here it comes, guys. Here comes the psychobabble. When a lie is repeated over and over, the information feels familiar, so familiar. And that makes it easier for people to rely on it. Now, this dummy is so postmodern. He has never turned his own beliefs on himself. Just use your brain for 5 seconds, you elite judge snob. Listen to this barely literate comic book artist, animator. Which lie has been repeated over and over more to both Trump's followers and to Beltway people like you? That Trump is a danger to democracy, or that Jack Smith's motivations are political? I watch the mainstream media all day. And it's at least, if there's any hypnotizing going on, if there's an illusory truth effect going on, and you should know this if you claim to know it. If you claim to believe in the illusory truth effect, you should be able to look around and know 99% of the negative coverage out there is against Trump and for Jack Smith. So how do you explain the counter? Sir, the Hill, you're far more likely who have fallen under the illusory truth effect, oddly, than me. You're the brainwashing. I actually read the articles. I'm here doing a counter narrative. How do you explain that I'm an artist and an animator and I have taught at the college level? I have my master's degree. I'm an educated person. I should hate Trump. Why don't I hate him? You moron. You have not bucked your tribe. You have not gone against your people in the Beltway, a bunch of judges. Are you kidding? You Mr. Howell snob?
It was marvelous. I was foreclosing the mortgage on a lifelong friend.
I'm an artist. I'm surrounded by liberals, Marxists, homosexuals, abortionists, and I disagree with them. But you are one for one a conformist with the Washington Beltway, with every rhino I ever met, every sellout, every man who ever marched only because the streets were full, because he never had the bravery to stand alone. That's you receiving the comfort and the love in Beltway, Washington. Good job for writing that article against those Trump supporters, you genius, moron. Unfortunately, unless and until Smith and his team can present their evidence fully in court of law and Trump suffers a conviction on any of his significant counts he's facing, the bizarre and unprecedented situation will persist. No, buddy, it will persist even after he's found guilty, because I know you people well enough. You're going to find him guilty. You're going to put him in jail, not because he's guilty, but because he's innocent. It's what you people do. It's how you're going to win the election. And he's going to get sprung by the Supreme Court, a real judge who disagrees with you. In the end, Smith's only recourse is to get one of these cases to trial, which will be a daunting task as he's running out of time. That's right, sucker, bad guys lose. Until then, Trump has the floor, and the illusory truth effect will continue to favor him in his quest to return to the presidency. Or he's just a good guy and it's God's will that he be president. I don't know. Whatever is the most insulting thing that you couldn't stand grasping, that will put you on the floor and put you in the corner, curled up in fetal position, slobbering on suicide watch over your Trump derangement syndrome. That's what I hope happens. It's coming. I'm Doug in Exile.